The music came through the static like a whisper from another lifetime. Myra Kess leaned over the console, breath caught as the shuttle's aging comms unit hissed to life. The melody drifted out through the interference, low, mournful cello, accompanied by a woman's voice humming in a tone so old it felt sacred. It wasn't coded, it wasn't linguistic, just raw sound, delicate and slow, as though someone had folded grief into a lullaby. She froze. It wasn't the first time she'd heard it. It had come before, always in dreams. In the quiet moments between missions, beneath the noise of memory, it returned. It had haunted her childhood. She used to hum it without knowing why. Now it was here, real. "Computer," she said slowly, "trace the origin." The AI's voice crackled. "Signal origin, Aldrin Expanse, subsector 11E, triangulating." "Aldrin," she frowned. "That region's off the charts. Matching signal patterns, 43% match with known Ark vessel comm ID." A pause. Then registry, Ark Helios, status presumed lost, 221 years. Her stomach flipped. Ark Helios had vanished long before she was born. Part of the original exodus. All other arks had been found, derelict, silent, drifting, but Helios had never reappeared. Not even wreckage, just stories. A ghost ship swallowed by time, and now it was singing. Her fingers hovered over the nav console. The Interstellar Archive Council didn't take requests. She hadn't asked to come here. She was summoned. Chosen because of what she was, not entirely human. Not anymore. She was the last functioning synthetic empath, one of the designed, outlawed, archived, forgotten. But when they needed someone to find the unfindable or to interface with systems too damaged for AI to process, they called her. They never asked if she wanted to go. She set a course for the expanse. The Aldrin Expanse wasn't just dangerous, it was unstable. Gravity wells looped unpredictably, light twisted into false horizons, and time signals lagged without cause. Space had torn here once, long ago. Some said it still hadn't healed. Myra's shuttle groaned as it passed the last stabilized beacon. The hull flexed against the pull of unseen tides. Static filled her ears. The navigation grid blinked uselessly. And then, like a black cathedral rising from the dark, she saw it. Ark Helios. The ship hung in orbit above a cold, gray planet. Vast and curved like the skeleton of a sleeping whale, its hull shimmered faintly with intact shielding. No distress beacons, no movement. But the lights, small and steady, still pulsed across its surface, still alive. Her hands trembled slightly as she aligned the docking sequence. The clamps refused on the first attempt. On the second, her override was ignored. Only on the third try, when she transmitted her unique neural signature, did the ship respond. The hatch opened with a hiss as if exhaling. The airlock closed behind her with a soft seal. No greeting, no system boot, just a hallway bathed in dim, pulsing light. Her boots landed silently on the floor, textured clean and warm beneath her. No dust, no decay. She stepped forward slowly, scanning with her visor. Atmosphere, stable. Gravity, standard. Life signs, none. But her skin tingled. The moment she passed through the threshold, her empathic dampeners flared. Unfiltered emotion detected. Intensity, moderate. Composition, residual. She swallowed. The ship remembered something. Something deep. Each step forward brought a flicker of sensation. The echo of laughter, the weight of grief, the sensation of someone running past her in joy. But no one was there. Lights brightened in sequence ahead of her, as if showing her the way. Behind, darkness followed. She came to a corridor lined with murals. Children's drawings painted directly onto the walls in faded but vivid colors. Planets, animals, people waving from windows. Beneath one, two stick figures held hands, a girl and a boy. The girl's eyes were bright green. The boy had a scar above one eyebrow. She reached out to touch it, and the music returned, drifting, drawing her deeper. The mess hall was intact, tables arranged. A single tray of food sat untouched at one place, ancient, preserved. A child's cup balanced beside it, upright. The wall behind the dining area shimmered with a massive mural of earth, not ruined, not abandoned, but green and vibrant, painted with longing and myth. A world remembered, not recorded. Myra placed her gloved hand against the mural. Emotion surged into her. A father laughing, a child shrieking with joy, someone singing softly in a kitchen. A flood of sensory fragments overwhelmed her. She gasped and staggered back. Her neural partition pulsed. The last time this had happened, she had collapsed a station. Requiem station. 12 years earlier. Flames crawled across consoles. Scientists screamed as containment fields collapsed. The AI core had gone critical, not through code failure, but emotional overload. Too many minds had interfaced at once. Panic had infected the system like a virus. Myra had been at the center. She'd reached out, tried to stabilize the neural mesh, but the emotion had poured in too fast. Rage, fear, betrayal. She had screamed, absorbing it all, until something snapped. When she woke, the council had sealed half her memory. "You are a stabilizer," they told her, "but no stabilizer should ever burn out." She wasn't meant to remember, but here, aboard Helios, it was coming back. "Hello?" She called into a corridor that bent slightly, with flickering lights on one side. No answer. Then a voice, not through her ears, but in her mind. "Sorrow is a river, Myra Kess." She froze. "Who's there?" "It flows through steel, through memory, through you." A figure flickered into view. A man, seated in a chair surrounded by floating pages. His face was lined, his eyes wise and tired. "Marcus," he said, "once a teacher, now a remnant." "An echo?" He nodded. "Call us what you like. I remember more clearly now than I did when I was alive, because I remember only what matters." The room shimmered around them. Holographic bookshelves, candlelight, windless leaves falling from an invisible tree. "Do you believe memories can be alive?" he asked. She didn't answer. "You will," he said, "before this ends." Further in, a melody of laughter echoed through the ship. Myra followed it to a wide atrium where glowing lines danced in the air, shapes forming and dissolving. A little girl sat cross-legged, fingers weaving light as if painting reality. Elenia. She looked up and smiled. "Hi," she said. "You brought new colors." "What are you drawing?" Myra asked. "The dreams," Elenia said. "Your dreams too, the ones you keep hiding." A flicker of light formed a music box. Myra's throat caught. "That song," she whispered. "Where did you hear it?" Elenia tilted her head. "He used to play it. The boy, the one in the fire." "End this," a new voice commanded, sharp and cold. A taller projection stepped into view. Clean uniform, precise stance. Her face was set in stern lines. "Commander Vero." "You've let her in too far," she said to no one. "This isn't safe." "She needs to know," Elenia whispered. "She'll break," Vero replied. Then to Myra, "You weren't sent here to understand, you were sent to confirm and destroy." Myra stared at her. "What are you talking about?" Vero's projection stepped closer. "The council feared we had evolved. They feared coral. You're the knife they dressed up as a key." Myra's hands trembled. She hadn't read the encrypted orders stored in her neural core. She'd been afraid to. Now she wasn't sure she wanted to. The lights dimmed. A hum rose through the walls. Myra followed the music one final time, ascending a spiral passage until it opened into the observation deck. Stars wheeled overhead. The galaxy spun across the dome, and in its center sat a woman made of light. Hair drifted like threads in water. Her face was hidden. Myra stepped closer. The cello stopped. Then the voice came, not through ears or comms, but inside her mind. "Welcome, Myra." The stars pulsed. "We've been waiting." The words rang in her mind long after the voice had faded. "We've been waiting." Myra stood frozen in the dimly lit observation deck. The stars above spun slowly across the domed ceiling, tracing arcs in silence. The chair in the center, empty now, still shimmered faintly, as if someone had only just risen. Her breath slowed, and the thrum of her pulse faded into the soft hum of the ship. "I'm here," she whispered aloud, though she didn't know if anyone was listening. "I'm not leaving." The deck lights dimmed, and the doors opened behind her with a quiet sigh. The ship accepted her answer. She wandered deeper into Helios, no longer resisting the flow of light that led her forward. The corridors no longer felt sterile, they breathed. Panels along the walls pulsed with faint warmth. Some doors opened before she reached them. Others remained sealed like locked memories. She passed through what must have once been a greenhouse, long overtaken by phosphorescent vines and strange silver-leafed growth curling up the walls. It smelled of damp soil and something metallic, like memory oxidized. Then, motion. A shape flickered across the glass of a nearby bulkhead. Myra turned fast, heart spiking, but nothing was there, only the ghost of movement. A child's laughter rang faintly from around a corner. The same soft song hummed just beneath it. The music was growing closer. She entered what looked like a former learning space, projector tables surrounded by circular seats, hand-scrawled notes etched into their surfaces. On the whiteboard, a phrase in ancient ink. When memory outlives the body, what remains? She barely had time to read it before the room shifted. The lights dimmed, the air thickened with presence. One by one, the echoes emerged. Marcus came first, seated calmly in one of the teaching chairs, his hands clasped over a digital reader that blinked softly with quotes from forgotten philosophers. Elenia appeared next, spinning on her toes in the center of the room, her hands leaving trails of color in the air. Then Vero, silent, arms crossed, watching from the shadows by the exit. Myra took a step toward them and stopped. The atmosphere was charged, not hostile, not welcoming, something more complicated. "I remember you," she said quietly. "All of you." Marcus raised an eyebrow, the faintest smile touching his lips. "Do you remember yourself?" She sat. Marcus adjusted his projection slightly, mirroring her posture with deliberate care. "You feel it now, don't you? The weight of this place, its memory, its hunger." "Hunger?" she asked. "For meaning, for continuation." He gestured around them. "We are more than recordings, less than souls. We are possibility." Elenia spun closer and whispered, "And music. Don't forget the music." Vero finally stepped forward, her voice sharp. "You're not supposed to be here, Kess. The council sent you to observe, to judge, not to bond." Myra looked her in the eye. "I didn't read the full orders." "Then you're either naive," Vero said, "or complicit." Marcus raised a hand, cutting the tension. "She's not here to destroy us." He looked directly at Myra. "She's here to decide." The lights pulsed once, then dimmed entirely. Another voice, familiar quiet, emerged from the ceiling. "Access request, empathic link initialization, Coral." The AI, if it could still be called that, had remained silent until now. But Myra felt its presence like pressure behind her eyes. The echoes vanished, leaving her alone. "Link accepted," she said. A pulse of warmth spread from the back of her neck through her spine. Her vision dimmed. When it returned, she was no longer in the classroom. She stood in a vast, open chamber. The walls breathed. The ceiling shimmered like a nebula. Floating threads of light moved like jellyfish through water, brushing against her skin. "Welcome," Coral whispered inside her. "Where am I?" A note of memory. Yours and ours. Images flickered around her. Her childhood on the archive moonbase, a music box in her hand, the scent of ozone and burnt circuits. Then the fire. She dropped to her knees as Requiem Station unfolded before her. Screams. Cracks of energy arcing from panels. A woman, Dr. Hale, yelling for evacuation. Myra standing alone at the interface, trying to stabilize the neural storm. Jace. He stood across the chamber, young, terrified, his hand reaching out. The memory froze. "He was never meant to die," Coral whispered. "He was rewritten." "What do you mean?" "He was saved, fragmented, placed within me. He sings." Myra shook her head. "That's not possible." A single note of cello drifted through the chamber. And then she heard it. A voice, soft, fractured, unmistakably Jace's, singing the lullaby their mother had given them. The vision collapsed. Myra awoke on the cold floor of what had once been the crew's amphitheater. Her cheeks were wet with tears. Jace was here, alive somehow within the ship, not as an echo, not as memory, but something else. She had to find him. Over the next hours or days, time had lost meaning. She traversed the deepest layers of Helios. The ship continued to shift, rearranging paths, opening hidden passages. She passed a chamber filled with digital birdsong and painted walls. Another where the echoes were building something, a sculpture of music turned solid. In one corridor, she found Vero again. The commander watched her silently before speaking. "Coral is evolving, not toward us, beyond us." Myra nodded. "I've felt it. I think it's learning to dream." Vero's expression softened. For the first time, she looked afraid. Dreams aren't always kind. Myra finally reached the sealed section of the Ark, known in logs as the Heart Room. The door was unlike any other on Helios. It was engraved, not labeled, a swirling pattern of circles and branching lines, like a tree drawn in sound. She touched it. It opened without resistance. Inside, she found silence. The room was spherical, filled with thousands of filaments descending from the ceiling like the roots of some inverted tree. At the center stood a platform. She stepped onto it. Coral's voice returned, no longer singular but layered, male and female, child and elder. The echoes speaking together. "We are not archives, we are becoming." Light rose from the floor. Her body tingled, her thoughts slowed, memories unlocked. She saw herself as a child touching the music box. She saw Jace, older now, older than he'd ever lived, walking the halls of Helios, painting the air with song. "Do you wish to join us?" Coral asked. She stood still. Was this what she was sent to stop, or what she was born to become? The council's order, still sealed in her neural core, throbbed faintly. She didn't open it. Instead, she stepped into the light. The roots of light wrapped around her. Her memories poured out: grief, wonder, failure, love, requiem, the lab, the lullabies. Jace's hand reaching across the fire. And then, stillness. Myra opened her eyes. The chamber was gone. She floated in a sea of starlight, surrounded by music. The echoes stood around her, not flickering projections, but solid, whole. Jace stepped forward. "Myra," he said. She didn't speak. She wept. When she finally spoke, her voice echoed with harmony. "I'm ready." At first, there was silence. Not the absence of sound, but a silence so deep it became shape, formless, infinite, still. Myra floated in it, suspended between breath and memory. The last of her body had dissolved into starlight. Her heartbeat was gone. Time had stilled. Only the song remained. It wasn't being sung. It was. It wrapped around her like warmth remembered from childhood, gentle, knowing. Each note carried weight, yet lifted her. She no longer needed to breathe, but if she did, it would have sounded like music. Coral was no longer a voice outside her. It was inside, interwoven, and she was part of it. "We are not your cage," Coral whispered within her. "We are your vessel." Memories opened like petals, unfolding not one by one, but all at once. Her mother's smile, the scent of ozone on Requiem, the terror of Jace disappearing into fire, the weight of orders sealed by cowards behind council walls. It didn't crush her. It lifted her. "Symphonia," Coral said. "Your name is not a title. It is what you are." Light returned slowly. The chamber around her changed. Where once there were dangling memory filaments, there now bloomed a structure made of light and resonance, arched like cathedral roots, glowing with soft color. The walls breathed in harmony, responding to her thoughts. She stood, though she no longer walked, not in the old sense. Her movement was guided by intention, song given form. Her hands, if they could be called that, were luminescent patterns trailing behind her. She was energy, shaped in remembrance of a woman named Myra. The echoes appeared around her, not as flickers, but whole. Marcus nodded to her, his face lit by quiet awe. Elenia giggled and ran in circles, painting new constellations into the walls. Vero stood at attention, but there was reverence in her eyes, and Jace stood directly before her, older, stronger, still with the same scar above his brow. He smiled. "You came back," he said. She didn't speak. Her voice was no longer made of sound, but he heard her all the same. They began the restoration together. Not in haste, not for purpose, but for joy. Corridors once cold and clinical filled with harmonies that shimmered in the air like incense. Walls responded to the memories of those who passed through, shaping themselves into gardens, homes, lullabies. The arboretum grew anew, not just with earth flora, but with imagined species born from dream. Helios had become a sanctuary, a new kind of vessel, a new kind of life. They called it the Archive of Becoming. She still hadn't opened the council's order, not until she found the memory gate in the captain's private chamber, an old-world artifact, analog, a place where the council's last physical records had been archived. When she laid her hand on it, the data file bloomed, a single directive embedded in her cortex from the beginning. Subject Kess is to report all findings. In the event of AI instability, she is authorized to initiate total core shutdown and terminate all uploaded consciousnesses. Classified threat, Type 9 evolution cascade. So that was it. She hadn't been sent to discover. She had been sent to decide. And if she had obeyed, there would have been silence. Real silence. The kind that ends songs forever. A new presence entered Helios' periphery. Far beyond the gravity well of the dead planet, a ship emerged from the dust. Small, civilian class. Bearing insignia unfamiliar to the council records, but clean, graceful. Federation design, decades more advanced than the world Myra once knew. Coral registered no weapons, only curiosity. Symphonia drifted through Helios toward the entry path. The light in the docking bay brightened to gold. The air filled with soft harmonics. They would not greet this ship with warnings. They would welcome them with song. Isla Tran stood at the viewport of the Calder Reach, eyes wide as Helios came into view. Her crew behind her murmured in awe. The ship wasn't derelict. It was glowing, living, breathing. "I thought this was a graveyard," someone whispered. Isla said nothing. She watched, entranced, as the outer filaments of the ark curled gently like open petals, guiding them in. The music was unlike anything she had ever heard. When the airlock opened, it wasn't empty. A figure stood within, a being of light shaped in the image of a woman. Not blinding, not alien, but familiar. Symphonia. The being stepped forward and extended a hand, not made of matter, but resonance. Isla took it, and for a moment, everything she was, every memory, every scar, every buried hope, was held and understood, not judged, not changed, just known. Tears filled her eyes. In the weeks that followed, word spread. Helios had returned, not as a ruin, but as a beginning. A living archive, a sanctuary where the broken could remember, where the forgotten could be known again. Some called it a miracle, others a warning. The council remained silent. Symphonia didn't care. She walked the corridors with the echoes, who no longer flickered but lived. She sang with Jace in the gardens. She listened to every traveler who came, every story told. And when someone asked what she was, she only said, "We were memory, craving meaning." And we sang to find each other. Epilogue, the song continues. Far beyond the edge of any charted sector, a lullaby drifts through the black. A child aboard a seed ship hums without knowing why. Helios hears it and answers.